Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship.
Hi everybody, Ezra Levant here. How you doing? Hope you had a great weekend. Oh, it's so busy. I mean, I remember when I was a young man, when the news really didn't change much. I mean, it was like watching a fire or watching the leaves rustle or watching the waves on the sea. I mean, yeah, there were little iterations and, you know, there were little changes in the blue team and the red team, but everything was pretty much the same. It was like a river was frozen. When I was a late teenager, the Berlin Wall fell and a lot of things changed, but for a while it seemed like they changed towards the end of history, as Francis Fukuyama said. And it was, America and the world could let down their guard, didn't need to be stressed and worried and funding the Cold War anymore. The risk of mutually assured destruction was gone. That was a 10-year Clinton holiday until, of course, 9/11 happened. And I think since then, the world has, in Canada, the United States, around the world has been in great turbulence. And of course, the COVID-19, the illness itself, I don't think, has changed the world. It just really hasn't. It's like a bad flu year. And everything is, if you look at how the reporting is done, every death is being called a coronavirus death. Because if you died and within the previous 28 days were tested with COVID, your death was called by COVID. So I don't even believe the stats as they're presented. It's not the pandemic that has caused the great turbulence now. It's the opportunistic turn a crisis into an opportunity of the globalist, interventionist, authoritarian left. And so I say again, more happens in a year now than would happen in a decade before. It's incredible, really. And I say that because just all the news over the weekend, how do you even catch up on that? I want to talk a little bit about the pandemic. I want to talk about how Theresa Tam, who until recently worked for the United Nations World Health Organization, which is an outrageous conflict of interest. How can you work for the China-controlled World Health Organization and also work for Canada? How can you have two masters? And it's not just an abstract thing. As I showed you, for those of you who watched my paywall show, as I showed on Rebel News Plus a few weeks ago, we have documents from the government of Canada showing that Theresa Tam had to sign confidentiality agreements with the UN. She was required to keep secrets from Canada. How do you do that? How do you work for the United Nations World Health Organization, which is controlled by China, swear loyalty to them, swear confidentiality to them, confidentiality which remains after you're done there? And how do you do that while also serving Canada? They're at odds. They're at odds. Theresa Tam was on CTV this weekend, and I have to say that although I criticize the media party all the time, I must acknowledge when there is real journalism done by them. Quite often that means I'm praising the Globe and Mail's China reporting, which is the best in the country, with the possible exception of our reporting. They're the best in the mainstream media. And Evan Solomon, who does work at CTV, I must give credit to the fact that he is a good journalist. He asks questions that no other Ottawa media party journalist can. I don't know how he's able to do it, because such questions would get any other reporter banished. It's funny, and I'm going to show you a clip in a moment of Evan Solomon asking Theresa Tam some questions. But before I do, you might recall the Globe and Mail broke the big Jody Wilson-Raybould scandal a couple years ago. That was when Jody Wilson-Raybould was the Justice Minister. She wanted to prosecute a corrupt bribe paying company called SNC-Lavalin, and Justin Trudeau repeatedly tried to interfere, tried to get her to not prosecute his corrupt friends. And I'm saying that without any risk, because they confessed to it all. They admitted they're corrupt. They admitted everything. They were just saying, please don't prosecute us. Let us cut a deal. And Jody Wilson-Raybould and her independent civil servants and lawyers said, no, this is not a case where you cut a deal. This has to be prosecuted. So it would be as if the local mayor was trying to convince the local prosecutor not to prosecute the local mafia family. Like, that's how bad it was. And they ended up basically firing Jody Wilson-Raybould, the justice minister. I mean, in any healthy democracy, that would have brought down the whole government. The Globe and Mail broke that story. And I don't know if you remember, and I don't think we could find the clip quickly, but I don't know if you remember, Justin, the first thing Justin Trudeau said was, the Globe and Mail story is false. Did you ever, I mean, it just a brazen, flat out lie. Of course, if you're willing to corrupt a criminal prosecution for your corrupt friends, of course you're willing to lie about it. I mean, you need to lie. The lie keeps it all together. I mean, you are interfering in a court case to help your crooked friends stay out of jail. Of course you're going to lie. I mean, you've just done 10 other things far worse than merely lying to a reporter. So it's a bit of a tangent. I know I am coming back to Evan Solomon and Theresa Tam, but my point is, when the Globe and Mail broke that huge story, and it was well researched and well written, and it landed with like a sledgehammer, Justin Trudeau brazenly said the Globe and Mail story is false. So not only did he lie, but he accused the Globe and Mail of lying. And I learned this later when we took the government to court for banning us from press conferences, for banning us from the leaders' debates, etc. We're banned by Trudeau. He doesn't let our reporters in. He doesn't like reporters he can't control. We did a tally, or one of our lawyers or researchers did a tally of who got questions and who didn't. I didn't realize that Trudeau cut off the Globe and Mail after that story. Here's a clip. I think Justin has it. Take a look.
At no time did I or my office direct the current or previous Attorney General to make any particular decision in this matter.
But not necessarily direct, Prime Minister. Was there any sort of influence whatsoever?
Yeah. As I've said, at no time did we direct the Attorney General, current or previous, to take any decision whatsoever in this matter.
Crooked liar, wicked liar, deceiver, guilty of breaking the Conflict of Interest Act, threw the first Indigenous Justice Minister under the bus. Actually, before that, I think he said the Globe and Mail story is false. Those were the actual words. We don't need to get it, though, Justin. Thanks for digging that up. My point is, the Globe and Mail detonated a truth bomb under Justin Trudeau. He called them liars, and he cut them off. I didn't know that. He cut them off. To this day, he does not forgive them. So, and this is all a very long preamble to showing you Evan Solomon. How does Evan Solomon manage to ask real questions without being cut off? I don't know, but I'm glad he does. I think he might be the only journalist in Ottawa who does. So this is my admiration for Evan Solomon and his ability to ask good questions. Now, this isn't a particularly strong grilling. It's just he asks questions that elicit a reaction. So here's Evan Solomon asking Theresa Tam, once we get our shots, we're done, right? We're done this insane year-long lockdown, right? Here.
Close to 600,000 Canadians have had the second dose. Can they, for example, if they hug their loved one who hasn't had a dose, can they asymptomatically transfer it to someone? Or can they just kind of, we're safe now, we've had the vaccine, we're going to function normally, come over for dinner?
Well, for now, keep up with those precautions because there's two reasons. One is that if you got vaccinated, it's never 100%. So keeping up with some of these personal protective layers is still important. Can you transmit to someone else if you're vaccinated? That we don't know yet, but there's more and more data that shows that it's quite likely that those who are vaccinated are less likely to transmit. But that data is forthcoming, so just hang on tight for a bit.
Hey guys, just hang on tight for a bit, okay? I mean, just wait a little longer, okay? The data's still coming in. You still have to do these personal protective layers. So Evan, no, you can't end the lockdown. You can't end living like you're under house arrest. You have to still do that even though you've waited, you've worn a mask, you've stayed at home, you've lost your job, the country's $1 trillion deeper in debt. Just a little longer, guys, because we sold you the line that you need the virus, or the vaccine, and we're the slowest country in the free world to get you the vaccine. But if you're one of the people who actually finally did get the vaccine, you thought you were done? You thought you're done watching her on TV issue orders just out of thin air? And the orders switch all the time. Don't wear a mask, wear a mask. Don't ban travel. Go eat in Chinatown, you're racist if you don't. Don't you go out to restaurants, you're a bigot if you do. You thought it would be over if you got a shot? Well, don't you know there's new variants? Now, you can never say China virus or Wuhan virus, but you can say UK variant, Brazilian variant, South African variant, because that's not racist. It's only racist to say Chinese flu. So, yeah, if you thought that you would be able to go back to normal life once you got the 1 or 2 jabs, you don't understand what's going on here. This will never end if they have a say in it. There's just too much inertia. Again, I ask you in Latin, cui bono, who benefits? What's the cost of a vaccine dose? $100? So that's tens of billions, hundreds of billions of dollars around the world. You think the pharmaceutical companies are just going to give that up? Just think of all the masks and the PPE and that whole industry. Think about all our new celebrities like Theresa Tam herself and the dozens of other public health rock stars, celebrities who are loving the publicity and the sympathy, and people jump when they say jump. You think they're just going to pack it in and say, yeah, I'm going to go back to my life of obscurity now? You think that's just going to happen? You think Amazon, Disney Plus, Netflix, all the online companies that have just been killing it, you think they're done? You think Jeff Bezos will be happy to let stores open? You think Costco and Walmart will be happy to let individual retailers open? You think DoorDash and Skip the Dishes will be happy to let restaurants open? You think so? Or do you think that the trillions of dollars worth of companies I've just listed have an enormous vested interest in keeping the crisis permanent? Some super chats here. P. Meckler, $10. Good morning, Ezra. Could you please talk about the release of Bonnie Henry's new book and how she's using the pandemic to profit? Disgusting. You know what? I haven't had a chance to go through it yet, but yeah. I would have thought, I mean, that's just me, that if you're the public health officer for a province of millions of people, that you're a little bit busy right now. And you might not have time to write. I've written 10 books, and they are an enormously time-consuming, demanding, attention-focusing thing. But hey, what's more important? Make it a quick buck and locking in that celebrity? Or, I mean, really, what have any of these public health officers done other than just say ditto to whatever the World Health Organization says? I mean, really, have they actually done it? They're not actually practicing doctors. They're not actually healing people. They're just issuing orders. That actually doesn't take that much time, I suppose. Matt Dugas, 140 smackers. Matt, thank you. Are the geese allowed back in? Where I think that the geese have to be quarantined for 2 weeks in a $2,000 a night birdhouse. Annalisa asks, 7 months, keep up the great work, Ezra. I'm a proud rebel chick. Well, that's great. You know what? We should probably do. You know, when I think rebel chick, I think of some cartoon character that looks like the birds on Angry Birds, and just sort of like one of the more badass birds on Angry Birds, the rebel chick. So thank you, Annalisa S. Viking Insane $2. At this rate, Canada will end up like Venezuela. Well, it's funny you say that, because as we've shown before, 80 years ago, Venezuela was the 4th richest country. Was it Venezuela or was it Argentina that was the 4th richest country? I think it was Venezuela. Yeah, call that up if you can. There's different concepts of wealth, right? One is purchasing power parity. So if you live in Vancouver, Toronto, San Francisco, London, you have to have a very high dollar income to buy basic stuff. I mean, mainly housing, but food, clothing, whatever. So there's different ways of measuring wealth. By some measures, China's the richest country in the world. By others, America is. If you have $100, it goes further in China than in LA, let's say. But I think per capita GDP in American dollars is a pretty good way of doing it. Venezuela, if you can believe it, was I think the 4th richest country in the world. Yeah, put it back, put that online if you can. In 1950, it's not very long ago, it was the 4th richest country in the world. That would have been richer at the time than Hong Kong or South Korea or Taiwan. And it makes sense if you know anything about Venezuela. You know, for example, it has the world's largest oil reserves, bigger even than Saudi Arabia. It has enormous minerals of all sorts. It, you know, fertile agricultural land. It's in the larger Caribbean area in terms of commerce. So what do we got here? So in 1950, Venezuela was the world's 4th wealthiest nation per capita. Okay, so this is Wikipedia. I'm always skeptical. Click on that footnote. You see that footnote right after that? Yeah, click on the footnote, and what does it say? Click Nature, Progress, Agrarian Reform, and Latin America. Click on Economy, GDP per capita. Okay, and what's this website we're looking at here? Nation Master. Okay, I'm not familiar with it. Can you zoom in a little bit? So the wealthiest country in 1950, according to this website, and again, I would go a little bit deeper if I was spending more time on this, and we're not. Number 1 was the United States. Number 2 was Switzerland. Number 3, New Zealand. Number 4, Venezuela. Australia, then Canada, then Sweden, then Denmark, Netherlands, Belgium, France, Argentina, another country that's really fallen down, Norway, Germany, Finland. This rings true. Doesn't this ring true for 1950s? This is before the Asian dragons rose. This is, yeah, even South Africa on there. I'm not surprised. Japan in 1950, still emerging from, you know, the devastation of the war. And now you're pretty low here, so you're, you know, getting into some fairly poor countries. China was way down low there. But yeah, this Venezuela was the 4th richest country in 1950. It can happen. You don't have to be that dramatic and that international to know that. I mean, we've shown many times before the Grand Central Terminal for Detroit's train stations, right? It's an amazing Gothic or Art Deco building, completely abandoned. You want to show that one more time? You know the one I mean? Like if you know, there's some people that like exploring abandoned properties. I got a buddy who goes into sort of abandoned houses. He thinks they're nostalgic, they're a little spooky. They make you think who lived here, what happened here. I would imagine it's a little bit dangerous. I did that when I was in Baltimore with Kim Klasick. I walked into these homes that had been abandoned for years or decades. Trees were growing from the bottom. The roofs, you know, the roof would cave in, rain would come in, seeds would come in, and a tree would grow in the house. A tree would grow in the house because no one would, it was abandoned homes in the city. And you would find drug users and homeless people in there just for some sort of shelter, but it made for an extremely dangerous neighborhood. There's a lot of places. Do you have that image from Detroit? And my point is, yeah, the question is, at this rate, Canada will end up like Venezuela. You could say Canada will end up like Detroit. Canada will end up like Baltimore. And these were some of the wealthiest, most industrial places in North America. So why do you think that, yeah, look at that. Like, that is a grand building. Look at that on the, like, that is in the grand style. Look at that. This train, you know, someone wants to do some renos, I would hope. Like, it is abandoned, thrown out. There are some houses in Detroit you can, I know this sounds crazy, you can buy for less than $100. Same thing in Baltimore, they just want you to take the property and clean it up. So for those who say, oh, you'll be like Venezuela, you don't even have to go that far. And remember, Detroit had the highest industrial wage in America 80 years ago. Like, it was the richest place to be if you were a working man. Oh, get Jenny $2. I think the geese might be smarter than the sheep. Yeah. David Ends, $5. Thanks for all you do, Rebel News. What are your thoughts on daylight savings time and will it be canceled? You know, I don't have a lot of thoughts on that. I know some people get revved up about it. I just, you know, it never really bothered me much one way or the other. And these days, all your devices sort of auto update, other than, I guess, your stovetop or microwave. If you're, so, you know what, I just don't get that revved up about it. David Ends, what do you think I missed one? Which one do you think I missed? There we go. Ronnie DRZ. Ontario federal MP Derek Sloan brought Tam's loyalty to Canada up and was chastised in Canada by his party. Yes, this is when he was running for leader. We had a poll called Fire Tam, a petition called firetam.com. I think that got over 50,000. Do you want to slap that up on the screen? And it was for exactly the reasons I outlined. You cannot have two masters. You can't have two bosses. You can't have conflicting loyalties. It would be like having two wives. You know, it just don't work. 61,000 petition signatures. People said, and by the way, the absurd thing was when Derek Sloan made the same point. Fire Dr. Theresa Tam, Canada's public health officer. Dr. Theresa Tam works for the World Health Organization. She has to work for Canadians, not foreign dictatorships. Sign our petition if you agree. It's got nothing to do with her ethnicity, which is the accusation they lobbed at Derek Sloan, which is absurd, especially if you know that his wife and kids are visible minorities. It goes to loyalty, which I'm not speaking of ethnic loyalty or nationalist loyalty. I'm saying she signed a contract. We saw this. I did a show about it about a month ago. She literally signed a confidentiality clause, a loyalty clause, a disclosure clause, like very onerous loyalty pledges to the UN that must conflict with her duty of transparency, disclosure, and loyalty to the Canadian government. You can't, you know, promise two adverse parties to be loyal to both. You just can't do it. Mark Owens, 2121. Trudeau and Biden are nothing but China payoffs. They both won their elections by China up them both. I think China was delighted by their wins. I think the reason Biden won, according to Joel Pollack, was that the election rules were changed through the courts in the final weeks and months of the campaign, using the pandemic as the excuse. Oh, we got to have mail-in votes. Oh, we got to not have voter ID. Oh, we got to have just any signature pass. I mean, that's how Biden won. In Canada, Trudeau won because of our media party and because of Andrew Scheer just stumbling. And I think Aaron O'Toole is going to do worse. Faust, $10. It seems most people are loving this lockdown and new normal since they are not refusing to stand against tyranny, sadly. I wish I was wrong. Keep up the great work. Thank you, Faust. I think that there are a lot of people who enjoy the comfort of their chains. You know, we've all heard the phrase, a gilded cage. Oh, I'm loving it. Oh, I'm loving the lockdown. I can catch up on my Netflix and order in. Yeah, that's for the lockdown class that gets paid. We're going to run out of money soon, by the way. But unemployment in Canada is the highest in the OECD, or the highest in the G7. Can you grab a chart? Can you just Google G7 unemployment image? because I saw it the other day. I just don't know where I saw it, but it should be such a ubiquitous chart. Canada has done the worst in the G7. You know the G7 are. It's the 7 sort of big economies, Western-oriented. I don't know if Canada's economy is actually technically the 7th largest in the world. You would think that India would be bigger or something like that. China's is certainly bigger, but the G7 is, Canadian unemployment is 55% higher than G7 average. There we go. Yeah, there it goes. So Canada, you could see the other countries in the G7. Italy, France, Canada, the OECD average, US, Germany, Japan. There's obviously some other, so we're just doing terribly. Scroll down a little bit. Is there anything else on this page? US unemployment is falling, Canada's rising. G7 average unemployment, 39% lower than Canada. OECD, that's a larger group. OECD has, as you can see, 37 members. Scroll down a little bit. Is there anything more? Is that it? Okay. Yeah, I've seen that chart a lot of places. It's true. AMT $5. I loved your vaccine show on Friday. I emailed you under my real name with links of videos as to why healthcare workers like me won't take the vax. Did you see it? Well, I do receive hundreds of emails every day. I try and read them, but if I read them all, I'd go mad. I have some friends and staff who get copies of my emails, and they try and act on the ones that need acting. For example, if people have problems with their account or whatever. We have a tips email that I do look at, so forgive me if I didn't write back. I'm not being dismissive. I think I've shown you before, Justin, I have 431,000 emails that I have yet to go through. You know, on your phone, you know, it says how many emails. I have 431,000. I also have 139 text messages and 63 signal messages. I'm sure there's some extremely important ones in there. I'm sure I've missed some tremendous good news and some tremendous bad news. And I'm not laughing other than at my own ridiculous situation. My friends, I swear I try. If you think I'm not spending enough time on my phone and reading emails, you should talk to the missus. She has a slightly different opinion. You know, on smartphones these days, where they tell you how much time you've spent on your device. Does that pop up on yours? You have yours on your home screen. That's it. Screen time. This says 5 hours and 12 minutes per day, which it says is down 28% last week. That's because I was out of town for 3 days, and this is just on this phone. It's on. I think between the laptop and the phone, I'm on a screen at least 12 hours a day, and it is not good, people. I'm not complaining. I'm just explaining. Susan Gale, $5. Thank you. Kane Enmar, $5. I liked Andrew's interview with Chris Sky. Shout out to Justin. Chris Sky is a larger-than-life character. It's a miracle that he can even live in Canada. You'd think he would be jailed, deported, or just crushed. He's so effusive, enthusiastic, independent-minded, contrarian, and confident. In some ways, his confidence reminds me of Donald Trump's. And I think he's quite thoughtful. I know some people react to his strong style and even his physical appearance. He's wearing sunglasses, for example. He's got a bit of ink. He loves showing off the pipes. Hey, fair enough. If I had arms like that, I'd wear t-shirts a lot more also. But if you listen to what he says, he is very thoughtful. Don't you think? Like, do you have that clip that we played that Andrew recorded like a year ago? This is before I really knew Chris Sky. I mean, not that I know him well personally, but before I followed a lot of his stuff. This might even have been before Andrew joined us. I think this might have been for Andrew's own web YouTube channel. I'm not sure. But this clip of Chris Sky that Andrew did a year ago has been clipped and shared on social media.
The mask is about
This one, yeah, go ahead, play it.
compliance, because they know Canadians like to do what they're told. So if they tell you have to wear a mask, next they're going to tell you have to contact trace. Then they're going to tell you have to take the vaccine. And because Canadians like to do what they're told, they're hoping that everyone just complies. And then guess what, kids? Once you take your vaccine, like a dumb person that doesn't know any better, they're going to tell you, sorry, the vaccine isn't as effective as we thought it was going to be. So now you still got to wear your mask, still got to get contact trace, still have all the restrictions and social distancing, and still take your vaccine.
You can watch the whole thing. And yeah, congrats to Andrew and Chris. Very articulate. That rant goes on. Actually, that was just a little snippet of it there. I think that's been watched 20 million times. Do you think? Like even like I'm seeing it retweeted in other countries by minor celebrities. Even a grainy version that someone obviously copied from a copy from a copy. He saw what was coming. That was months ago. Let me catch up here. David Reed, $20. Thank you, David. Philippe Brevard, $5. I'm late to the feed. Did you talk about the Montreal March yet? I was there. Talked to many scared people about contesterlescontreventions.com. And forgive me for my French accent. Can you call up contesterlescontreventions.com? That's contesterlescontreventions.com. That's how I would speak it without the French accent. The answer, I have two answers for you, Philippe. First of all, I have seen, so this is our French language site, and I'm sorry my French is so bad, but as you can see, this one, avez-vous reçu une contravention scandaleuse? Do you have an outrageous ticket? Chaque jour, nous entendons parler de bons citoyens, et même des familles, qui recevront des contraventions de la part des policiers. I'm not going to punish you with any more French. I'll stop right there. But as you can see, we have one page en français. And participer au financement, only 89 people have chipped in. I don't mind. We have paid, and by the way, we have a lot of clients. In fact, just today, I think we probably have had maybe 10 cases come in since the march this weekend. So the answer, Philippe, is mais oui. And you might recall that last week I did a video in Yiddish, like the European Jewish language. And I read it. I mean, Yankee helped me with the pronunciations and some of the translation. I took Yiddish when I was a kid. I went to Jewish school in Calgary from grade 1 to grade 6, so obviously my Yiddish is very rusty, but Yankee helped me. And I can say that we have had some people from that community reach out for help too. So you might think doing this in French, doing this in Yiddish is goofy. It's not goofy. We're just trying to reach different people because not everybody in Canada speaks English. And it is my observation, first of all, that the government picks on churches the most, but they also pick on these Orthodox Jews in Montreal who speak Yiddish. I also note that the largest anti-lockdown protests in Canada are in Montreal. Now, we covered them 2 weeks ago. We didn't cover them this weekend. We simply don't have the manpower of legacy media. That said, and I don't want to jump the gun, I am in negotiations with very preliminary, let's say discussions, not negotiations, very preliminary discussions with a possible Montreal talent who could hopefully cover the news at least every weekend for us there. So I've been looking to hire a Montreal talent for a couple months now. Looks like we might have someone. I hope. Webley Pug, $20. Thank you. Marilyn Walls, $5. I'm available to be your personal assistant. Thank you, Marilyn. I'm pleased to say that position was filled several weeks ago. And if you go to rebelnews.com/careers. So thank you, Marilyn. Appreciate that offer of help. But but that position is being filled, along with some of our video editor positions. In fact, we just welcomed 2 more staff members today. Intern at Rebel News, I'll have to talk to Eitan about how the intern applications are coming along, because I see one cross my desk every day. Montreal-based reporter, we just talked about that. China Affairs reporter, I need help with that, folks. A China Affairs journalist based anywhere in Canada, capable of providing news, commentary, and activism in relation to its editorial objectives. The primary medium for publication will be video, but with written articles as well. We need someone who knows Chinese, because they're going to watch Chinese videos, read Chinese newspapers, and talk to us about China in English. So the videos will be in English, but this reporter needs to know Chinese. Ottawa-based reporter, pretty self-evident. Content writer and web editor. Do we have that? Or are we still looking for a position? In-house counsel, litigation lawyer. We need that. As you can tell, we have so much action on the go. Over 500 cases. I'll have to get the latest count. Last time I asked Victoria, we were over 500 cases. So, yeah, lots of lawyering. So my executive assistant or personal assistant position is taken, but thank you, Marilyn. Clayton Lee, $5. I live in a green zone, big deal. We still have to wear masks and social distance. There is no color for normality. Yeah, you know, I just don't. There's one place in my life where I must, and I simply cannot bear the cost of not doing so. But everywhere else, I just wear the masks. I don't wear the masks, and I don't give a damn. You know what? People don't bug me. Where was I the other day where I just wasn't wearing a mask? And no one cared. I think you just got to be calm and confident and normal. And if there's someone who you think might be a scold, don't make a lot of eye contact that basically invites them. People still have enough deference to don't bug strangers, that I think if you just go about your business normally, I think the scolding instinct, I think that comes when people are in very close proximity to you, are bored, it's silent, you're like waiting in line, and someone feels the need to make a snippy comment. Because if you're just going along, doing this, doing that, and you're not stopping and sort of inviting a pregnant pause for someone to be a snitchy scold. I'm just trying to think the last time anyone scolded me for not wearing a mask. It was last year. Maybe it was New Year's Eve. It was New Year's Eve. Or Christmas Eve, one of those. I was just at a little convenience store just for a second, just popped in. And it wasn't even a scold. Someone made a whole big scene about, "Oh, I'm backing up from you." Like it wasn't even, it was just, oh, and I just thought, boy, you're bored. So that was, so we're halfway through March, January, February and a half. So, 75. So it's been like 80 days since anyone even mention anything. Like, I suppose I'm not out every day, but I'm out and about. Mr. Valorous, $5. Immigrated 6 years ago. Government hasn't given me anything because of some glitch in their system. My savings is gone. Government must go now. Well, I mean, working is the best thing, right? Working for a living, but as you just saw, the unemployment rate in Canada is the highest in the G7. Herbert Hildebrand, $5. Thanks for all your hard work in leading the Rebel team. Truth for the win. Well, thanks very much, Herbert. And I know you've been fighting for freedom as well. So thank you. I'm impressed with how you and your whole clan have fought. AMT, $2. I love Chris Sky. I wish he could be cloned. He's quite a character. He is a. Would you say he is the most interesting character you have met in the last year? Is there anyone else? I mean, maybe there's someone in your personal life, but no, he's, I tell you, love him or hate him, he gets people thinking, he gets people talking, and he pushes the edge of the envelope, and he's smart. Like you might say, oh, here's a guy with tattoos and he's always working out. So you might think, oh, the stereotype is he's not a thinking man. He is absolutely a thinking man. I think he's thought things through. I mean, I'm distracted by 100 things. I'm trying to do a show. I'm trying to run a company. I got a bunch of things in my life. I think in many ways, he has thought things through more deeply than almost anyone. And I mean, I like to think I'm smart. I like to think I'm on top of things. I will defer to him on these things. He knows the law. He knows his rights. He seems to be able to see what's, I mean, here I am praising Chris Sky. I think he deserves it. And I think we need people like him in the system to push back and poke back, because normally you have all sorts of civil liberties groups and civil liberties lawyers and free expression groups and the Canadian Civil Liberties Association and all these police watched. Normally you have dozens of fancy pants doing that, but they're all either part of the establishment now or they're hiding under their beds. So you need a prickly pokey guy, because where are all these NGOs and civil society? Where's the law professors? I keep saying. I don't know if you remember, Justin, but when Stephen Harper was Prime Minister, you would have a joint letter signed by like 50 law professors every week in the Toronto Star or the Globe and Mail denouncing this, denouncing that. Could you imagine if Stephen Harper would have set up mandatory quarantine hotels at airports for innocent, healthy Canadians not charged with anything? Not like, it would be absurd. But those law professors, I lost my voice. So there you go. Fraser McMurray, $10 if you live in Hamilton. Plan to come join us at 3 p.m. Wednesday at Hamilton City Hall to protest the lockdowns on this first year anniversary of this tragedy to Canadians. Isn't that the truth? 2 weeks, eh? 2 weeks to flatten the curve, yeah. Kane Enmark, $5. I was kicked out of a bar Sunday because I can't wear a mask. How is Human Rights website going? I'm glad you ask me every day. I'm also asked every morning in our 10 a.m. staff meeting, and I have a sheepish answer, and I look down at my paper and I doodle. And so, in fact, I now suspect, Kane Enmark, that is a pen name for someone here who is nudging me, and I'm glad you are. I am working on a story for tonight, though, and I hope I finish it by tonight, that I believe is international news. I told you a little bit about it. I don't know. Maybe it's not as big as I think, but I think it's big. It's very, very weird. So, like, it's my story of my life, pulled in 10 different directions. Ollie M, $5. Hi, Ezra. What options we have in the next elections? I came here from Romania for freedom. I lived under communism. I want my freedom for my kids. You know, it's funny. I had lunch with a guy from Romania just last week. And I find that people from the former, you know, they used to call it the Warsaw Pact, those Soviet bloc countries, I think they are the most alert to the freedoms and those that we have lost. My advice to you is no different than my advice to all other Canadians. And this goes to something earlier, one of the earlier questions, about why everyone's going along with it. And my answer is, I look in the United States, and there's 50 United States, and each of them has a slightly different approach to the pandemic. You got the president, and under Trump it was one way, and under Biden it's another way. You saw Biden the other day. I don't know if you can grab that clip. It's on Twitter everywhere, saying, if you're good boys and girls, I might let you out on the 4th of July, and I might let you celebrate Independence Day. I might not, but I might. So be good for another April, May, June and a half. Be good for another 100 days, and if I approve of your behavior, I might let you have a barbecue. I'd love to show that clip if you find. So you got the federal. Oh, you got it there? Okay, go ahead.
And spread unchecked. Denials for days, weeks, then months. That led to more deaths, more infections, more stress, and more loneliness. A year filled with the loss of life and the loss of living for all of us. But in the loss, we saw how much there was to gain in appreciation, respect, and gratitude. Finding light in the darkness is a very American thing to do. I'm announcing that I will direct all states, tribes, and territories to make all adults, people 18 and over, eligible to be vaccinated no later than May 1. With the passage of the American Rescue Plan, and I thank again the House and Senate for passing it, and my announcement last month of a plan to vaccinate teachers and school staff, we can accelerate massive nationwide effort to reopen our schools safely. If we do this together, by July the 4th, there's a good chance you, your families and friends will be able to get together in your backyard or in your neighborhood and have a cookout or a barbecue and celebrate Independence Day.
If you do everything I say for 100 days, there's a good chance, now it's not a sure thing, there's a good chance that you can get together on your own property to have an outdoor barbecue. Now, I'm not saying it's a sure thing, but if you obey me for 100 days, if I can train you in submission and obedience, there's a reward, there's a parole for you. Yeah, but you just better go along with everything I do and say. So some people would say, okay, yes, Master, you're such a gentle prison warden. I really appreciate that. But others laugh at that. Can you give me some viz of Ron DeSantis? Just go to on Twitter, type Ron DeSantis and click photos. Because Ron DeSantis, he's the governor of Florida. There's pictures of him out and about every day at barbecues, at bars, rekindling the social gatherings of the, yeah, that's exactly what I was hoping for. So scroll up, what does it say there? Scroll up there. Here is Florida Governor Ron DeSantis celebrating and drinking beers with hundreds of thousands of maskless people at Bike Week in Daytona Beach yesterday. While he's enjoying his beer, over 32,000 Floridians have died due to his lack of leadership. Yeah, so you know what? See, that's the Florida Governor Ron DeSantis having a beer at Bike Week in Daytona Beach. Yeah, so you can look at that. Now he does wear a mask from time to time, as you can see. They hate Ron DeSantis because he is the governor of a very important state. He only won by like 1%. And he's got one of the oldest states in terms of demographics. I think he's actually had the fastest vaccination rate for seniors in America, if that's your thing. And his approach is, if that's your thing, I'm going to get you your vaccine. If you want a mask, wear a mask. He'll even wear a mask. But he's not going to shut down Miami or the rest of that wonderful state because, by the way, the saying sunshine is the best disinfectant, it's not just a metaphor, it's actually true. And being outdoors is healthier than being indoors, not just in every occasion, but also in the specific occasion of this flu bug. And economically, there is an absolute clear link between poverty and lack of health. If you're out of a job, you're depressed. If you're out of a job, you don't eat as well. You don't take care of yourself as well. So Ron DeSantis has opened up Florida, despite the fact that they have more seniors than just about any other state. In fact, I think they might be #1 for seniors. Their morbidities and mortalities are better than New York and California. So you have this great contest between the 50 states. And we talked about this the other day. You recently have sort of Florida's open, then Texas said, okay, well, we'll be open. And then Mississippi said, well, we'll be open. And South Dakota said, we've always been open. And so you have all these states competing with each other, and you have this momentum. Now, you also have the haters, like that one tweet I read, oh, he's murdered 32,000. No, you're confusing him with Andrew Cuomo. But Ron DeSantis has done the rarest of things in politics. He's actually shown leadership on a difficult issue, and he has moved the needle. I see the polls that everyone else does that shows Canadians seem to love their new status of obedience and submissiveness. I bet a lot of Canadians watched that Joe Biden clip and said, yes, Master, I will be a good prisoner, and I will make a tremendous application to the parole board on July 1st in our case, and maybe you'll let me have a barbecue in my own backyard with my own family, please, Master. So, but my point about Ron DeSantis is he didn't just follow public opinion, he led it. He led by example. He was a seed crystal around which others crystallized, around which others could say, oh, it's okay, it's socially okay, it's morally okay, it's politically okay to stand against the Faucis of the world, to stand against the Theresa Tams of the world. And this is my point to Aaron O'Toole. And to any other conservative in this country. There is not a single Conservative Party in Canada that is against lockdowns. Tell me if I'm wrong. Name one for me. And don't say Alberta, because there is a pastor who's in his 4th week of prison now for opening his church. But the Costco's are open, so there's that. If you lead, people will follow. Not everyone. You saw Ron DeSantis. He's cheersing beer with people outside, and people say, you murderer. Yeah, some people are going to say that, but they might say that anyways, and some might be doing so for partisan reasons. Some might be genuinely scared. But if no one will lead, then no one can follow. If Aaron O'Toole actually took a stand against the lockdowns, not an insane stand, but the kind of stand Ron DeSantis had, I think not only would he encourage most conservatives to follow him, but he would expand the party to the victims of lockdownism, which, by the way, includes a lot of working class people, small mom and pop shops, restaurants, gyms, retail. Like, first of all, it's the right thing to do to oppose. It's in the job title. Second of all, it's the conservative thing to do. Third of all, official opposition, why don't you at least push back in some way? Isn't that your job? But you would actually grow the party. As one of our lawyers, Manny Shishina, points out, there's a trend, if you look at the 500 plus cases that we've taken in Fight the Fines, it's working class people, by the way. A lot of them are single moms, a lot of them are people who've been laid off. Those are the people being picked on by the lockdown. And I'm just speaking from Rebel's experience, that our support base has changed. It's very much more working class. It's people who are not in the privileged establishment. There are some people who have had the best year of their life. A lot of government workers don't work but get paid. How's that? Like, imagine a year-long vacation. And by the way, a lot of them are actually traveling outside the country. I'm shocked when I hear how many doctors and health officials are jetting down to the Caribbean for a holiday. They're the ones scolding. I haven't left this country in over a year, and I used to travel. I'm not whining. I'm just saying, I'm not a lockdownist. The lockdownists, the politicians, the doctors, the health bosses, they're all traveling. They're loving it. There's judges hearing cases in Canada by Zoom in the Caribbean. What? So of course you think they're going to stop that? I mean, imagine if you're a judge, and Toronto, I'm just giving an example, dreary in the winter. You would never be able to have a trial by video in the Bahamas before. You would have to scrape off your window, drive in the slushy snow, go to court, sit there while lawyers blah, blah, blah. But because of the pandemic, you get to scooch down to Barbados or Bahamas and do a video conference. You never want that to end. Are you crazy? If you're a judge running trials from Bahamas via Zoom, you think you're going to end that? And even if you're, let's say, a clerk, a court clerk in Canada, well, you're doing it from home. That's more fun than going into the office. You think those people are going to end this thing? But if you had some leadership, you would get all the victims of lockdownism. We showed you the chart that more Canadians are unemployed than anyone else in the G7. You don't want to go for those people? All the people who are terrified of what's happening to their job, their company, their business. You don't want to be the hero for the restaurants, for the mom and pop shops? What, you're on side with Facebook, Amazon, and Huawei now? Yeah. All right, let me speed up here. Ollie M, $5. I'm absolutely hopeful because of your channel. Keep up fighting. We are here with you all. Thank you for standing for freedom. Thanks, Ollie. Stoner Crew 420, $70. Thank you. Would love to see a French version of Rebel News. Would be a good way to expand for new viewers. Yes, but we would also need to hire a French editor then, like a video editor, a French web editor. And we did try that about 3 years ago or 4 years ago, but we hit a road bump and we lost our talent. It's just such an undertaking. It has to be, it's much harder than it sounds because you need a whole unit, a whole, like that's a $500,000 a year project, at least. Astro, $7. Why will you never bring up white population replacement in Canada, and at what point are you going to flee to your ethno-state Israel? I don't propose to flee to Israel. I was born in Canada in 1972. My parents were born in Canada. My grandparents were born in Canada. My great-grandparents came and homesteaded in Alberta in 1903. So while Israel is indeed the Jewish state, Canada is my home. I was born here. My whole family's here. My kids were born here. And one of the projects of Rebel News is to improve Canada and keep Canada free and rededicate ourselves to the Canadian values that we talk about every day, freedom being the chief among them. If I were to flee Canada as some sort of refugee, it would be because of tyranny, which I hope doesn't come, but I see early signs of it. I probably wouldn't flee to Israel because I don't really speak Hebrew. And it's not, I mean, I don't know if I would ever be able to work effectively there in that language. I mean, maybe I could. They do speak English. I would probably flee to the United States if I had to flee. But this implies that I'm fleeing. Why would I flee? I fight. Did you not notice that about me? I fight. I have no plans to flee. Our company is bricks and mortar here in Canada. We're hiring new staff. That's the opposite of fleeing. It would have to get pretty bloody bad for me to flee. I can't imagine that. I mean, even if I was jailed, I don't think I would flee. I would fight. We've had rebel reporters arrested. Not one of them has said, I want to flee. Like David Menzies was arrested briefly when he was accosting Patrick Brown, the crooked mayor of Brampton, Ontario, who sneaked into a hockey arena while banning kids. David was arrested by abusive police officers. We're fighting that in court. Why would we flee? Efron, Mocha, and Lincoln were pushed around by cops in downtown Toronto. Are they going to flee? No, we're suing the cops. We're suing 10 cops. I don't know if you know that. Flee? Who else? Have any of our other people been? Abiy Yamini was arrested in Australia like 2 or 3 times, right? 3 times that I know of. He's not fleeing. We're suing the cops there too, and we're making a constitutional challenge to stop them from cracking down on peaceful gatherings. Why would I flee? I'm here to fight for freedom. I'm not saying that there would never be such a crisis that I wouldn't say, oh my God, I have to get out now to live. I mean, but that is so, we're not there. We are fighting for freedom. Don't you know that? So I reject your question. I reject the premise of it. If you don't realize that we fight for freedom every day, then you're not paying attention. And 600 million views of Rebel videos, the majority of them in Canada, tell me the Canadians sort of like what I'm doing. You know, there's one more test. You know, you go to a typical Rebel video and you see the like and dislike buttons there, right? Our like to dislike ratio, and we get this on, you know, you could see it for yourself, but we have analytics for all 15,000 videos. Our like to dislike ratio is 99 to 1. And so I don't care what the mean kids say, the CBC said. I mean, it bugs me, but Canadians like what we're doing. So what I'm doing is extremely Canadian. At least that's what Canadians say. Noble Canadian, $2. What about a rebelnews.com flag for the store? That's a good idea. A flag. I never thought of that. A flag. Why don't you, maybe our store people can think that. Joyful Heart, $5. Just had a phone call from my MP's office. He was very upset. I referred to the hotel quarantine as a concentration camp. He had no idea anything was wrong. I wouldn't call it a concentration camp. I would call it a mandatory detention center. I'd call it a COVID jail. A concentration camp implies a permanent ghettoization, typically on some ethnic basis or political basis, like what China's doing to the Uyghurs. I can understand. The word concentration camp is very flavorful. It has reminiscences of Nazi concentration camps. I would call them prisons, jails, because you are forcibly incarcerated. Those are the words I would use instead. Carl, $50. Thanks, mate. Where are the men in this country? Well, they're being told that being male is toxic masculinity. And but I don't think it's a male thing to want freedom. It is, for sure. But I think it can be a female thing, too. I think it's a human thing. I think young people are often rebellious by nature. I think old people have seen enough that they know when trends are going the wrong way. I think you can be for freedom if you're young or old, male or female. We have a mix of people from all backgrounds, both sexes, different parts of the country. We have old stock Canadians, we have new Canadians here. I'm curious about everyone here, but I don't really grill people on their backgrounds, but sometimes we have some banter and whatnot. We have people of all different backgrounds here. The commonality is freedom. And I think that's a Canadian trait. Don't take it from me. Was it Laurier, the Liberal, who said, no, it was Deef who said, I'm Canadian and freedom is my nationality. I think it was Diefenbaker who said that. But Laurier said something like it too. Laurier, the Liberal. Laurier freedom quote. Sorry, I'm just Googling this. As Laurier. Canada is free and freedom is its nationality. That's Laurier. I said that was Diefenbaker. I'm wrong. Dief, the chief, the conservative prime minister, he brought us the Bill of Rights in the 60s. I think it was 1960. But Laurier predates him, obviously. He's a liberal. Let me read that again. Wilfrid Laurier, the liberal. Canada is free and freedom is its nationality. Yeah, there you go. Thank you. For a moment there, I thought that was Diefenbaker. I'm so glad I checked. So that's my point. It's 1:03, so let me just wrap up the super chats and say goodbye. And we didn't really get into anything, did we? I was going to talk to you about the CBC doing a bizarre advertorial for a convicted criminal named Dion Bews, the convicted criminal who assaulted Sheila Gunn-Reid, our chief reporter, in Edmonton 4 years ago. Convicted criminal, we also sued him in civil court, won. Absolutely a disgraced man. Can you go to dionbews.com just to show people who I'm talking about? So Dion Bews is the lowest of the low. I should tell you that in the litigation we offered him, that thug. Vindicated, an Edmonton judge condemns the NDP thug who punched our reporter Sheila Gunn-Reid. That thug, Dion Bews. I should tell you that we offered him a deal. We said, if you just apologize and acknowledge that it is wrong to hit women, and if you make, I think we only said $1,000 donation to a women's shelter, we'll let you go. That thug refused. He had to be told by a judge that hitting women is not right. And he almost didn't pay, and part of me, I won't lie, part of me thought, let's fight all the way. But someone talked to him and said, you're just going to keep losing and losing and losing. Just pay. So he did. Now, I bought his name, DionBews.com. I do that sometimes. He's a convicted criminal. The world should never forget what he did. He punched a woman. And then he fought it in court. He fought it. What a creepy weirdo. Male feminist. He was at a women's march. He punches a woman at a women's march. What a creepy weirdo thug. Dion Bews. So I bought DionBews.com. Anyway, so go to the CBC story. So I see the CBC has a story about a guy named Dion James. And all the photos have Dion James wearing a face mask, of course. Looks a little bit different. You can't see if he's got the lip ring there. Edmonton handcrafted guitar business sees boom despite pandemic. New orders should be finished in 2023, says owner. Scroll down a little bit more. An Edmonton man has found success building handcrafted guitars with a wait list that has actually grown during the pandemic. Dion James, hang on. Dion James built his first guitar around 15 years ago. He was 23 at the time and living in Saskatchewan. He and a friend, scroll down, look how long this is. And he's wearing a mask so you can't see his face. Keep scrolling. They don't show you his face with files from Axel Tardieu. So scroll up. That's not Dion James. That's Dion Bews, convicted criminal, man who likes to punch women. And the CBC runs a whole advertorial for his guitar business without once mentioning that he's a convicted, violent thug. They use his new name. I don't know if he's legally changed his name to Dion James, but the CBC knows Dion Bews because they covered his conviction in court. Why the hell is the CBC whitewashing and giving an advertorial to a violent man like that without even reference? What the actual hell is going on? That's pure Jian Ghomeshi. I don't know if you remember, Jian Ghomeshi was the CBC star who kept punching women in the face. And this was fairly widely known. And in fact, CBC senior management set up what they called a war room. And the purpose of the war room was to hear any rumors and to discredit the women. The CBC set up a male war room, and if any woman made an accusation against Jian Ghomeshi, they all knew what Jian Ghomeshi was doing. The CBC thought, well, he's our star, we must defend him. Let us defame these women, let's smear these women, let's threaten these women. The CBC did that. They only got rid of Jian Ghomeshi when he sort of confessed everything in a bizarre Facebook page. That same CBC mentality, protect the abuser, protect the violent man, is obviously still alive and well at the CBC. They literally are trying to rehabilitate a violent thug who hits women, and they won't even tell you his name and what he's done. Dion Bews is a creepy man who, like I say, wouldn't admit he did anything wrong until two judges had to tell him in a row. We offered him, said, just admit what you did was wrong, you thug. Pay $1,000 to women's shelter and we're done. He wouldn't. Like, what a creepy, bizarre guy. Oh, he's gross. No, the CBC is grosser. Would you agree with me? All right, let me hurry up. Hugh Prendergast, $7 compared with Florida, where I helped the great Laura Loomer last fall. Ontario's crap under forward. Catch Tory in Palm Beach, please. Oh, we're trying. Raymond, $25. When will Chris Sky join the Rebel team? Well, we just enjoy reporting. He's got his own job. You know, he's an entrepreneur. C182 OPR, $5. Thanks for your reply to Leaving Canada comment. You and the Rebel team are one of the few things that make me proud of Canada these days. Thanks. Dallas Music, $5. Thanks so much for all your work. I'm attending a freedom rally on Saturday, Northern British Columbia, planning to take video, talk to a few folks. Well, that sounds good. Citizen journalism is a good way to do it. All right. Well, have I caught up on all the super chats? Pretty much. I think so. Thanks to everybody. Some very generous super chats there today. Really appreciate that. I'm going to go. I'm going to try and finish this big story for tonight. It's just crazy. I got to get on that. So I'm going to say goodbye now. And do we have a dog video? Yeah, we do. Okay, I'll say goodbye now, and here's the dog video.